The tower's remaining energy reserves are 2.57%. This data was received by Ayla after the attack. It was a dangerously low level. If the Proxima Centauri civilization had continued its assault for another hour, the tower's electromagnetic shields would have been overwhelmed, and the entire structure would have been vaporized by the dark matter explosion. While seemingly simple defense and offense, both sides had expended centuries of accumulated resources. Logically, the Type 1.8 Proxima Centauri civilization should have possessed at least 100 times more energy than Luna, requiring only 1% of its total energy to destroy the tower, with plenty to spare. But the calculation of energy resources in a civilization isn't so straightforward. Energy isn't solely allocated to military purposes. A civilization's functioning requires vast amounts of energy for residential use, transportation, industrial production, and numerous other necessities. These consume a significant portion of a civilization's energy resources. Military energy consumption is strictly the surplus after these essential needs are met, what could be termed reserve energy. These reserves are not only tied to military strength but also deeply intertwined with a civilization's economy, similar to gold reserves. Excessive military energy expenditure leads to economic instability, halting industrial production, and potentially causing societal collapse. Luna, as a nomadic civilization, allocated a significant portion of her energy resources, 76%, to weaponry. This was Luna's strength. The Proxima Centauri civilization still possessed over 70% of its energy reserves, yet they couldn't continue the attack. This civilization shows unexpected resilience. Advanced civilizations have complex structures leading to more cautious decision-making. Fortunately, we're facing a Type 1.8 civilization. Against a Type 1.9 or higher civilization, Project Babel would have had no chance of success. Now that beings have entered the tower, activate Tower of Babel. Ayla nodded. Tower of Babel is complete. God has changed his mind. He has placed the greatest treasures within the tower, awaiting those who seek them. To obtain these treasures requires overcoming trials, each testing one's worthiness to become a god. Those who reach the summit will find divine power. They will claim this power, becoming gods themselves. Luna, what do you think of this story? Luna sat in a priest's chair, performing bicep curls with 140-kilo weights. After 10 intense repetitions, the robot retrieved the weights. She breathed heavily and sighed. It needs refinement. A complete story should be a rich epic. But real history never has a neat conclusion. There's always a sequel. After becoming gods, humanity won't ascend to heaven but will return to earth, spreading the gifts of the gods, bringing humanity closer to the divine, proclaiming the god as Lord, and worshiping it. God's test is how to become a worthy god. My weapons against the Proxima Centauri are humanity's beautiful culture. Neither God nor I are deceiving them. God truly offers treasures, and I offer a passport to civilization. Beings who receive this passport become part of humanity. The tower. Standing before this colossal structure, the Proxima Centauri beings felt a profound sense of awe. This was the tower that had withstood their relentless attacks. It was a symbol of a superior civilization. Let's go in. Some were overcome with excitement. Or should we wait and see? Others hesitated. I shouldn't have come here. Some retreated. But inevitably, a creature stepped forward, entering the 50-meter-high entrance, bathed in brilliant white light. What is this place? It stared in awe and fear at the scene before it. The tower contained an entirely different world. This world was unlike their own. Vibrant colors, dazzling lights, and breathtaking beauty filled the space. Another, being approached, it shouted, "Who are you?" The first creature turned its head and they stared at each other. You. Is this what the beings of a higher civilization look like? We're so ugly, yet somehow there's a sense of perfection. Perhaps all beings that evolve to achieve high intelligence are the culmination of millions of years of evolution. But this body, it's so weak. According to the prophecy, the tower will test us. Has the test begun? What should we do? They waited, lost in confusion, until hunger struck, reminding them of their basic needs. As darkness descended, they realized they needed warmth. A downpour began on the second day, reminding them of the need for shelter, survival. Perhaps survival as humans understood it. This was their first test. After tens of thousands entered, the first test concluded. Thousands awoke in darkness, a bright doorway before them. Passing through it, they reappeared outside the tower. They stared at each other in confusion. What happened to us? They had no memory of their time within the tower. The remaining beings entered the second level, facing the second test. Poetic culture. They would experience stories created within poetic contexts, becoming the protagonists, reciting the poems themselves. Those who could experience the emotions within the poems passed. Those who couldn't were eliminated. The third level. The five senses. They experienced heightened human senses and the resulting pleasures, gradually losing their sense of self, viewing their original bodies as inferior. Aesthetic appreciation, honor, mythology, fiction, anything that could evoke human pleasure became a test. It stimulated their desires and emotions, driving them to extremes. These were just some of the tests. Later, they would be returned to their original selves, experiencing the most unpleasant aspects of their own civilization, fostering a sense of comparison. Then, they would glimpse the future. The happiness their civilization would achieve after adopting human culture. Then they would experience becoming human again, feeling the superiority of humanity over their own civilization. During this process, they would confront deep-seated questions about their identity and beliefs. These tests were iterative, gradually reshaping their minds into a human mindset. To prevent deception, their original bodies were controlled by robots within the tower, connecting directly to their nervous systems, accessing their deepest thoughts. This was a form of brainwashing, a form of indoctrination. God harvests his followers. Luna harvests followers for human civilization. The second phase of the war has begun. Isla reported that the first being to reach the summit had received a silver-blue card inscribed with English lettering. It followed the instructions perfectly. This was the first Proxima Centauri being to embrace humanity, but certainly not the last. The tower's trials weren't designed to select the strong but the weak. Only the weak would submit, only the weak would obey. Ayla estimated a 25% success rate. The final test is to teach these beings how to conceal themselves and ensure the survival of their civilization. It's proving more difficult than anticipated. The current success rate is around 6%. This civilization has successfully integrated the chips. When unfavorable information is detected, the chips will automatically modify their thoughts. This is a small victory for them in this second phase. The true battle will take place after their return. Luna observed on the screen as the re-educated beings exited the tower. They were indistinguishable from their compatriots, equally confused and unaware of what had transpired. Perhaps we've been eliminated, one being transmitted this message, causing disappointment among the others. Each had hoped to be chosen. Reality, however, revealed their ordinariness. One by one, they boarded ships and returned to their civilization, but warships intercepted them. What do you think you're doing? The recently disappointed creatures were in no mood for pleasantries. The soldiers on the warships, however, were equally unyielding. They had received orders to detain all those who had entered the tower, subjecting them to scrutiny, extended observation, and even mental examinations if necessary. Anyone attempting to escape would be destroyed. Preventing entry was one thing. Preventing their return was quite another. By controlling their return, they could limit the number of individuals potentially causing chaos. The leaders could then simply announce that those who reached the summit had been transformed, potentially, even using this to control the population's expectations. Prevent anyone who left the tower from returning to the planet. We cannot determine if any of them are agents of the advanced civilization nor can we determine if they underwent any form of mind control. Based on our intelligence, those who exited the tower had their memories erased within the tower. Was it as we suspected? Memory erasure was the only way to ensure deception. Anyone exhibiting unusual behavior must be interrogated thoroughly. Better to kill a few innocent than let one get away. After about 10 days, over 3,800 individuals were deemed to be potentially sympathetic to the advanced civilization, approximately 1/5 of those who returned from the tower. What should we do? We can't detain this many. This was a number the leaders hadn't anticipated. Execute them all? Exposure could lead to our own destruction. Apply pressure. That might work in the short term, but eventually conspiracy theories will spread throughout the planet. How about erasing their memories? That's a good idea. If we erase their memories, it'll be as if they never entered the tower. But we can't be certain the advanced civilization doesn't have other methods of infiltration. We'll postpone memory, erasure, and prioritize relocating the inhabitants of the third planet, Proxima Centauri C. We can't indefinitely detain them. We could announce that the tower has many levels requiring a long stay. That isn't technically a lie. They did spend a considerable time in a state of suspended animation. The leaders agreed upon a plan. Those released would be closely monitored and restricted. Releasing some would also reassure the population. Their main concern was that while they could prevent some from leaving the planet, the flow of individuals to the tower continued unabated. Hundreds of ships arrived daily, adding to their workload. It seems no one has reached the tower's summit. Perhaps some have, but they are concealed, patiently waiting like hunters. The entire civilization was on edge, and time, seizing the opportunity, slipped away. 50 years had passed since the first group exited the tower. For the inhabitants of Proxima Centauri B, that was nearly a lifetime. The first group, whose memories had been erased, showed no unusual behavior. They interacted normally, lived ordinary lives. Some even aged and died. Nothing happened. The second group, those who had entered the tower a second time and showed no signs of allegiance to the advanced civilization, similarly exhibited no unusual behavior. The third group, those who had initially shown signs of allegiance but had their memories erased, also remained unremarkable. The fourth, fifth groups, in total, 140,000 individuals were monitored. For 50 years they showed no unusual behavior. Some who hadn't even entered the tower were still clamoring for the arrival of the advanced civilization. Could we be wrong? Is that tower truly unconquerable? No, we cannot afford to miss even one. Everyone who entered the tower must be monitored until their death. This was interstellar warfare. 50 years was a long time for an individual, but for a civilization it was just a fleeting moment. Luna had already entered a long period of hibernation. She had set a timer for 1,000 years. The multi-eyed planet would take 3,600 years to reach Proxima Centauri, so there was no rush. She could simply wait. Time for her as an individual was inconsequential. Hibernation wasn't strictly necessary. She could easily sleep for millions of years in a hibernation pod. She believed time could heal all things, including the distrust between civilizations. Of course, she didn't rely solely on the other civilizations' complacency. In reality, the second phase of the plan had already begun with the first group. The tower's purpose wasn't to implant memories or alter neural pathways. It was to leave an imprint at the cellular level, like a swordsman who has practiced 100,000 times. When he grips his sword, he doesn't need to think. He simply acts. Muscles have memory. Cells have memory. The memories implanted at the cellular level would persist even after memory erasure. These beings would act according to these ingrained patterns, even without consciously recalling their experiences within the tower. The probability of this was low, but it was worth the wait. 1,000 years. Luna's goal was achieved sooner than expected. Intio. Her 358th year of hibernation, the first being with restored cellular memories, appeared. It didn't immediately do anything unusual but went to a regular building on Proxima Centauri C, a shop it frequented, behaving as it always did. The only Difference was a sudden urge to use the restroom. It spent half an hour there before emerging. After some time, a service robot entered the shop, retrieving a tiny needle, only 2 or 3 centimeters long, from a hidden compartment. It inserted the needle into its body and began analyzing. It was analyzing the underlying logic of cellular memory restoration and its reproducibility. Fortunately, Ayla's biological expertise had improved vastly after studying numerous multi-eyed specimens. Cells were like an open book to her. While she couldn't replicate the experience of the first subject in another individual, the research provided invaluable insights, increasing the probability of cellular memory restoration from 0.004% to 0.072%. The success rate had risen from 14 in 100,000 to 72 in 10,000. The second year. A pandemic erupted on Proxima Centauri C. Within 2 months, the disease infected over 80% of the population, but a vaccine was quickly developed. Every creature on Proxima Centauri C received the vaccine. In Luna's 384th year of hibernation, a political schism erupted on Proxima Centauri C, resulting in clearly defined left and right factions. The left favored welcoming the extraterrestrial civilization, forming an alliance to prevent future invasions. The right considered this folly. The existing extraterrestrial civilization was an invasive force seeking to subjugate them without conflict. Submission would only lead to defeat. While many had hoped for the arrival of the advanced civilization that created the tower 400 years earlier, such sentiments remained largely suppressed. Only now did this societal division manifest openly within the ruling class. This was primarily due to the influence of those whose cellular memories had been restored becoming leaders. Luna had never placed her faith in those who had simply returned from the tower, but rather on those affected by the people that restored cellular memories. In Luna's 397th year of hibernation, the year was 5217 AD. Nearly 3,180 years had passed since the destruction of Earth. A small-scale war erupted on Proxima Centauri C, resulting in only tens of thousands of casualties, but ultimately deciding the fate of the left and right factions. That same year, the right-wing faction was forced to leave Proxima Centauri C, creating a divided planetary system. A protracted 100-year war ensued. Casualties during this war were relatively low, with the conflict primarily focused on ideological struggle. The Proxima Centauri civilization, during the early stages of this war, expanded onto both Proxima Centauri B and C. Both factions engaged in a military buildup, driving rapid advancements in weaponry and related fields, resulting in an explosion of scientific innovation. Within a century, the Proxima Centauri civilization advanced from Type 1.8 to Type 1.9. The tower remained at a distance of 30 AU. The right-wing faction deployed a large fleet to destroy the tower using advanced weapons, but the left-wing faction deployed a fleet to counter them. In the final stages of this 100-year war, the conflict escalated, resulting in over 1 million casualties and exacerbating the conflict between the factions. AD 5326. 9 years later, Proxima Centauri B launched a surprise attack on Proxima Centauri C, destroying its largest dark matter energy plant and creating a 70-kilometer-wide crater on the planet's surface. The attack resulted in billions of casualties. This attack had profound consequences, weakening Proxima Centauri B for the following 3 centuries. The left-wing faction seized this opportunity, openly portraying the right wing as saboteurs and attracting many talented individuals. They implemented extensive social programs, improving the quality of life on Proxima Centauri C, surpassing that of Proxima Centauri B. Around the same time, novel items began appearing in Proxima Centauri C's markets. Initially purely for entertainment, these items quickly expanded into various aspects of life, becoming a widespread trend. Most notably, human architectural aesthetics. Proxima Centauri C's newest buildings conform to human architectural principles. Simultaneously, their cuisine began to change, incorporating unfamiliar spices, some palatable, others extremely unpleasant. However, some were retained and others were rejected. Palates adapted over time, a form of cultural assimilation. Despite the ongoing war, communication between Proxima Centauri B and C continued, and these trends spread to Proxima Centauri B, subtly influencing the entire Proxima Centauri civilization after the left-wing faction's 3-century dominance. Being who had returned from the tower announced that he had reached the summit and obtained a gift from the advanced civilization. The right-wing faction captured that person, discovered high-energy dark matter, and deployed it in warfare. This dark matter was 3 times more powerful than previously utilized forms, propelling the Proxima Centauri civilization into a new era. The right wing, with its overwhelming advantage, conquered over half of Proxima Centauri C. This was a significant victory for the right wing. The left wing was suppressed, some even appealing to the advanced civilization behind the tower for assistance. There was no response. However, around this time, anyone exiting the tower gained access to previously unknown technologies. The left wing, protecting the tower with a large fleet, monopolized these technologies. These technologies spread rapidly throughout the left wing controlled areas and then across the entire civilization, enriching the left wing, whose average income became 3 times that of the right wing. Enraged, the right wing launched a campaign to eliminate the left wing 20 years later. The left wing, by this point significantly weakened, became a minor faction. Thus ended the 826-year-long Proxima Centauri Civil War, with the anti-assimilationist right wing victorious. However, instead of destroying the tower, the right wing began sending people inside to acquire knowledge and technology. Over 8 centuries, the Proxima Centauri civilization underwent 16 major leadership changes. The leaders who had initially feared the tower were long dead, replaced by a new generation raised under the influence of the tower's technology. The tower was no longer a threat to be eliminated. From the beginning, the victory of either the left or right wing was inconsequential. In a small shop, a robot was stacking goods. Through its camera, the items appeared just like the artifacts from human civilization it contained. It looked outside. The roads, buildings, streetlights, clocks, robots, robotic pets, clothing and jewelry, everything bore the unmistakable mark of human civilization. In this 1,000 years, Ayla naturally hadn't been idle. From the beginning, she had been present on Proxima Centauri C. Observing the civilization's transformation, she had been researching and learning, mastering the Proxima Centauri civilization's dark matter technology, and developing theoretical models for high-energy dark matter. Based on these models, she discovered high-energy dark matter particles far smaller than ordinary dark matter particles, with a diameter only 1/700 millionth that of an electron. Capturing this high-energy dark matter was far more challenging than antimatter, detectable only under conditions of extreme gravitational force. Ayla only detected it within a miniature black hole at the subatomic level. Since the Proxima Centauri civilization had already been researching weakly interacting dark matter for thousands of years, they quickly surpassed Ayla in its utilization once they acquired the technology. However, Ayla wasn't in a hurry to replace antimatter as her primary energy source, as the difference in efficiency wasn't significant enough to warrant a change. Ayla had already established a complete antimatter production system, significantly outpacing the Proxima Centauri civilization's rate of high-energy dark matter collection. Over 1,000 years, her efficiency in utilizing antimatter annihilation had increased from 11.47% to 34.85%. Their energy production had reached Type 1.7 levels. And by incorporating technology from the Proxima Centauri civilization and the light-based civilization of the multi-eyed planet, their overall technological level had reached Type 1.9. Ironically, while the Proxima Centauri civilization's energy production had reached Type 1.9, its overall technological level remained at Type 1.8. The Type 1.9 rating was based on energy production alone. They were still far from reaching Type 2. In the 924th year, Ayla made another prediction. Our civilization has received its passport to the Galactic Federation. We are now members. In the near future, an emissary will arrive from the central civilization of the Federation, humanity. They will proclaim the Tower civilization's ideals of peace, non-interference, and non-aggression. All civilizations within the Federation, regardless of level, will have equal rights. Free trade, technological exchange, and collaborative progress will be encouraged within the Federation. This prediction didn't generate the same intense reaction as the previous one. Some even anticipated the arrival of the civilization behind the tower. Although the current ruling faction was the right wing, the boundaries between left and right were never absolute. Their political differences stemmed from self-interest. The left wasn't always conservative, nor was the right always progressive. If the left and right were simply two opposing poles, there wouldn't be extreme left or extreme right ideologies. Large organizations always have multiple facets, not just two extremes. Acceptance, assimilation. This was the prevailing sentiment across the Proxima Centauri civilization. The prediction also revealed that the passport to civilization was the knowledge and technology within the tower. This knowledge and technology embodied the culture of the advanced civilization. They had unknowingly become part of the Galactic Federation. Many reflected on this, but there wasn't a significant backlash. The advanced civilization's method suggested a desire for integration, not destruction. Of course, there were still some who advocated for killing the emissary, the extreme right wing. But this faction was insignificant within the overall civilization. Aini, are we really going to welcome a foreign civilization? The Proxima Centauri civilization even adopted humanity's naming conventions. Previously, individuals had no names, only identifying each other through pheromones and network IDs. Fleming, they're not a foreign civilization anymore. Our world is filled with traces of their culture. We have already been assimilated. The passport from the tower was always meant for assimilation. We should have realized this earlier. Two completely different civilizations cannot coexist peacefully. Even a non-interference federation is an unrealistic goal. Only by sharing the same culture, the same language and writing system, can everything proceed smoothly. We are the decision makers of our civilization. We must understand that we have no other choice but to accept. Even if we destroy them, in the constant evolution of the cosmos, we will inevitably encounter another civilization. Whether we assimilate them or they assimilate us, the end result will be a unified whole. Fleming still hesitated. Though he'd already reached a conclusion, he voiced his concern. What about reproductive isolation? Our species are completely different. This will prevent assimilation. Aini exhaled sharply. Civilizational development transcends basic desires. Individuals prioritize spiritual pursuits. The need for biological offspring is obsolete. If you want offspring, you simply cultivate a child from your own cells. Culture is the driving force of civilization. We are simply later to this realization than they are. Fleming's gaze fell. He wasn't an extremist, merely traditionalist, believing his species should be supreme and exist independently. Our civilization has reached this point. Perhaps it's time to interact with other civilizations in the universe. Fleming, haven't you always emphasized the importance of cultural diversity? Only diversity allows civilizations to reach higher levels. By interacting with extraterrestrial civilizations, we gain access to more resources. At the very least, it's a positive outcome. Fleming nodded. We cannot afford to be isolated, to become slaves to another civilization. Aini brightened. She came from a right-wing family, but as she matured, her views shifted towards the left. Of course, the terms left and right were now obsolete. Then let's announce it together. The prediction originated from the same account as the one from 1,000 years earlier, confirming it was a deliberate message from the advanced civilization. Therefore, it wasn't a prediction at all. The leaders chose their words carefully. We will formally establish contact with the human civilization behind the tower, joining the Galactic Federation. We welcome the arrival of human civilization. The second phase of the plan was a success. All that remained was Luna's awakening. After 1,000 years, Luna awoke. It had been a long time. She had spent another 1,000 years in divine revelation. During that time, she experienced much, witnessing the rise and fall of countless nations and races in the virtual world. This provided her with invaluable insights and experience. A technologically advanced nation even emerged within divine revelation, serving as a simulated model. The NPCs and players within contributed imaginative resources to the real world. During these 1,000 years, she didn't request updates from Ayla. She trusted Ayla to handle everything. If Ayla couldn't handle it, her intervention would be pointless. The leader of this nomadic civilization, she made the overall strategic decisions. Ayla served as her think tank, handling calculations and executing plans, while Luna provided insightful guidance and made crucial decisions that went beyond Ayla's capabilities. The fleet has reached Proxima Centauri. Proceed to Proxima Centauri. See, Luna received a full report just before awakening. She knew what to do. Proxima Centauri C was less developed than Proxima Centauri B, making it a relatively safe landing site. Luna, I don't recommend going to Proxima Centauri, Ayla spoke, her holographic avatar displaying a serious expression. Luna, observing her, felt she was overreacting. Ayla, you've upgraded the electromagnetic shields. Even large-scale dark matter projectiles are unlikely to penetrate my defenses. You don't need to worry about my safety. Ayla nodded slightly. I'm not worried about the Proxima Centauri civilization posing a threat to you. Luna, follow me. She turned and headed towards the experimental section, Luna following curiously. The ship's experimental section was no longer empty. Rows of biological labs lined the corridor. Luna arrived at the main chemistry lab. All the equipment was designed for chemical analysis and was relatively large-scale. Its functions included observing subatomic particles, analyzing macroscopic chemical phenomena, and conducting various chemical experiments. Ayla controlled more than a dozen robots within the lab, initiating various processes. A robot approached, Luna holding 4 test tubes containing soil, metal, liquid, and an empty tube. What's this? Just some samples randomly collected from Proxima Centauri C. They weren't specially selected. These 3 tubes contain all the elements found on Proxima Centauri C, in solid, liquid, and gaseous states. The robot poured the contents of the 3 tubes into 3 separate instruments. The instruments displayed the results on the lab's main screen. Do you see anything unusual? Luna studied the data on the screen, then counted carefully, a puzzled expression on her face. 82? You said these tubes contained all the elements from Proxima Centauri C? Luna thought Ayla must have made a mistake. Shouldn't there be 94 elements with relatively high abundance in nature? Ayla simply hummed in response. Correct. 82. And none of these 82 elements are radioactive. Theoretically, there are no radioactive elements on Proxima Centauri C. Over the past millennium, I've made significant efforts to locate radioactive elements, deploying substantial resources, yet I've found none. The same is true for Proxima Centauri B and D. Luna pondered. Could it be because Proxima Centauri is a red dwarf star, lacking the energy and gravitational force of the sun to create these heavier elements? That was the only explanation she could think of. No, red dwarfs might not produce radioactive elements themselves, but Proxima Centauri is relatively young, perhaps a 2nd or 3rd generation star. During its formation, it would have absorbed radioactive elements from supernovae. Moreover, radioactivity isn't limited to heavy elements. Lighter elements can also be radioactive, such as carbon-14. Cosmic rays and asteroids can also contain radioactive elements. But I haven't detected any radioactive elements in the Proxima Centauri system, not even trace amounts of element 83. The scarcity of radioactive elements is why the Proxima Centauri civilization turned to dark matter. Their history is far longer than humanity's. It took them 780,000 years to advance from Type 0 to Type 1. After discovering dark matter, they entered a period of rapid advancement, progressing from Type 1 to Type 1.9 in just 6,000 years. Luna understood what Ayla was implying. Radioactive elements should naturally exist. Their absence indicated manipulation by another civilization. If not the Proxima Centauri civilization, it must have been another. This other civilization was systematically collecting radioactive elements, doing so continuously for an extended period. A third civilization. This was Ayla's warning. The method of collecting these radioactive elements wasn't likely simple mining. It involved advanced technology capable of large-scale extraction without macroscopic detection. This technology might involve manipulation of fundamental forces. After studying the light-based civilization, Ayla concluded that Type II civilizations could achieve significant advancements in manipulating fundamental forces. A civilization capable of such advanced technology, capable of directly absorbing radioactive elements, would likely be Type II or higher. A fundamental aspect of Type II civilizations might be grand unification. Luna recalled her earlier hypothesis about the universe. Observers. Perhaps she wasn't the first observer of Proxima Centauri, but another civilization. Is there any concrete evidence? Ayla displayed an image. This is what I've collected. A massive vacuum bubble encompassing the entire Alpha Centauri system. This evidence was sufficient to confirm the existence of a third civilization. If they can absorb radioactive elements, they could likely absorb stable elements too. Could the elements in our solar system have also been absorbed? Luna pondered this. We may already be under observation. We don't know if this civilization is benevolent or malevolent. Have they already detected us and launched a fleet towards us? Perhaps they are already within the Proxima Centauri system, but we can't detect them. We simply don't know. After careful consideration, she made a decision. If we are already being observed, no matter where we go, we cannot escape the gaze of a more advanced civilization. Therefore, we cannot retreat. We must continue to develop. A galactic federation. Perhaps we need to create a true federation to counter these more powerful civilizations. Therefore, we must control the Proxima Centauri civilization. Ayla, clone me. Let the clone interact with the Proxima Centauri civilization, and I'll remain hidden. Focus your efforts on the multi-eyed planet. Develop advanced technologies there, ensuring the multi-eyed adopt and benefit from our knowledge. We must reach Type II as quickly as possible. Only by achieving grand unification will we be able to understand Type II technologies. The technological disparity between civilizations made the methods of advanced civilizations almost invisible to less advanced ones. This profound sense of danger weighed heavily on Luna. She had become what the Proxima Centauri civilization had been 1,000 years ago, prey